Today, we have a really great guest for our conversations on Messengers on a Mission. He's somebody who came to me as a client a few years ago and has become a very good friend over the work that we've done together and the time we've spent together. But he is a legend in direct response TV. His name is Rick Cesari. He's a pioneer in video marketing. He's a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and a strategic branding expert. He's worked with Sonicare, the George Foreman Grill, OxyClean, GoPro, and I am just skimming the surface of what Rick has done. So we're going to get into a little jam session here, let you know about him, his work, and what he's passionate about, and what he's a messenger that he stands for. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, thank you, Susan. Thank you for such a great introduction. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, we met, you found me on LinkedIn several years ago.
Yes, I was interested in, I don't know, when I see interesting personalities on LinkedIn, I reach out to them, and your bio at the time was very interesting to me. So I reached out and never expected to form the relationship that we've had, and it's been great.
Yeah. It goes back. You were working on what was a book that you were doing through an interview process. Let's see if I can get this on the camera right. Building. This wasn't out yet, but you were in the process, and you'd contacted me about marketing books, and we got together for coffee. And I was thinking, Rick Cesari, a legend in marketing. What does he need me for helping him with his book? And your answer was, well, I don't know anything about marketing books.
Mm-hmm.
So we started first working on the marketing for that book, which wasn't ready yet. And then from that leveraged into really building your own personal brand and bringing all that beautiful direct response TV experience into the video marketing world that we have today. And I'll just, while I'm showing books, we'll just show you the one that we did together, Video Persuasion. That's a hefty book too.
Yes.
It's a great book, everything you need to know. So let's go back to, I don't even know where to start, Rick, because I know you so well, but let's go back to, I think, one of the passions you have, that you are passionate about getting the word out to people, and the first business that you developed as a result of that.
So I think you're probably referring to the Trillium Health products, or the makers of the Juice Man juicer and the Bread Man
and
bread
where
machine.
that all came from. Like, you have a real passion about living a healthy life.
Yeah, so it kind of starts off with kind of a little sad twist to it. Is I grew up one of 8 children, and very happy family life until I was about probably 8 or 9, and then my father passed away when he was only 46 years old from a heart attack. And at the time, we know that lifestyle. Now we know lifestyle is so important, but at the time, he ate a lot of meat, smoked 2 packs of Camels a day. Having to deal with 8 kids in the family and support a lot of stress and things that could be modified nowadays. They really didn't realize it back then. So anyway, he passed away, and what's interesting, it kind of shaped what I did with my life to some extent, because I did end up studying biology in college with the thought that I wanted to go into some type of medical career, either dental or medicine or things like that. And so I was very happy to have a science background. And then, how life is, things just kind of take a little bit of a change, and can't say that it was planned out this way, but basically I got into, after college, I moved back down to Florida where I was living at the time, got into real estate, and then eventually promoting real estate seminars. And that's where I started to learn marketing, and kind of just learn marketing from hands-on doing it and helping other people market their products or their services.
Yeah, so that combines kind of like you recognized in your father's passing and your studies in college, that living a healthy lifestyle. And I know that you were a lifeguard when you were in
Mhm.
Florida, soaking up all that good sunshine, vitamin D. And then you learned the marketing. But when did you merge the two? Because I know they
Yeah.
came together
Yeah,
very
that's a good, a
beautifully.
good, a good point. So I kind of learned how to promote live seminars in the real estate business, but I was always, again, we're talking about interested in health, and read a lot of books about, I guess they'd be considered alternate health or natural health. Books like from Norman Walker and Bernard Jensen and those type of people, and fueling my personal interest in health. And so then I was thinking, well, the type of marketing I'm doing promoting these real estate seminars, I could probably do it with a health seminar. And it just, like, I was fortunate to meet a very good spokesperson named Jay Kordich, who turned out his name, or a trade name, was a juice man. And I met him when he was doing a tiny little seminar in a health food store. There were probably 5 people standing around, but I saw the power of his message. And I figured, well, I can take that message and kind of, I always like to say, add a magnifying glass to what he was doing. And so that was kind of the beginning of the Juice Man business. And I have a really funny story on the very beginning of the business, and you can relate to you because you're in PR
Yeah.
type of thing. But when we first launched the business, we were able to book through a couple of young guys that I'd met that do PR, an appearance for Jay on the Richard Bay show. It was on WOR in New York, and it was just like a regular morning talk show that's on TV today. And Jay went on there at the end of June, basically had a 20-minute segment where he made fresh juices and answered questions, and then told people that you could get all the juice recipes that he was showing you just to send in a self-addressed stamped envelope. And a few days went by, and I was living in Seattle, and the mailman pulled up with a big canvas sack full of letters. And it turned out that over 18,000 people replied to that one PR appearance. And basically, that was kind of how we started the business. We just basically sent the people back the juice recipes with also an order form if they wanted to buy a juicer. And so we were able to sell enough juicers to start the business from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's such a great story. And what year would that have been, Rick?
1989.
Yeah, so way ahead of where we are today, where most homes have juicers and most
Mhm.
people are juicing to some degree. But this was really leading edge. And I love the coming together. And I hope that our listeners are putting two and two together and coming up with four, in that you were open to the opportunity when you stood in front of the demonstration, but there was probably some synchronicity there because it was an interest of yours around your health orientation and natural health and wanting
Mhm.
to live a longer, healthier life than your father had. But you were able to recognize the opportunity and you took action on it.
Mhm.
And so to me, that is all the critical pieces of somebody who is passionate about a particular message and then becomes a messenger, which you really did by providing juicers, juice recipes, and building a company around that whole basis. And I know you personally, I know that you still juice today and that you
I'm
live
drinking
that.
my
There you
juice
go.
right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. So it's kind of like it is a part of your DNA. It's a
Mhm.
part of what your belief
Yeah, what
systems
was
are.
interesting, Susan, is you made a good point. When we were doing this, juicing was a very, very tiny, not very many people had heard of it at all. And juicers were still being sold as kitchen appliances and not as a healthy thing that you would put in your kitchen. Because of a personal, you talk about the passion, because of the passion or personal interest, it leads you to seek out the areas where this is happening, even if it's happening on a small scale. And then, like you said, just being open to the opportunity. We started putting on juicing seminars around the country, and the business I always tell people it was kind of the right product at the right time with the right message. And the company was able to grow to about 75 million in sales in only 4 years.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And that then, great segue into what happened after that. with Sultan.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
the company Sultan actually purchased our juicer business in 1993. I think they did it twofold, and I think you still see this happening today. Is when a bigger company buys a smaller company, sometimes they want the product, but a lot of times they want the marketing knowledge of the knowledge or the IT or whatever. And I think Sultan, when they bought our business, wanted that because they basically liked the way we were doing marketing. We were early pioneers in doing television direct response marketing. That was one of the things that helped grow the business. They brought us two products. One was a product that you could make bagels at home, and the other one was a slanted grill, which was a taco maker at the time, and eventually morphed into the George Foreman grill. So, needless to say, the taco maker, the bagel maker, didn't work as a project, but the George Foreman went on to be probably the largest selling television product of all time.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that because you and George have remained friends
Mm-hmm.
and in contact with each other. But tell me about what made that switch from a taco maker to a greaseless grill.
Again, I think it goes back to, and the thread that connects it all is the health. The product again was designed as a taco or fajita maker, but I was thinking in terms of healthy cooking, and it was the first slanted grill. And as you cook, the grease and fat would run away from the food, and it didn't make all the food you're eating healthy, but it was a healthier way of cooking. And so that was kind of the positioning, is taking what would normally be a grill for cooking meat, sandwiches, all sorts of things, and repositioning it as a health product, based on the unique selling proposition of the product, and just looking at things a little bit differently through that health lens has been really important in marketing that and other products I've been involved in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every time I speak with you and I learn a little bit more about your background, there's always that health element that comes through. And we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit more about that later, but for everybody who's listening, just be aware of that, because when we are meant to carry a message out that will help a lot of people. I mean, I had a George Foreman grill. I think everybody who's about our age,
Mm-hmm.
not the millennials perhaps, but we all had them in our kitchen. And so it's that common thread that shows what we do naturally, that then if we do something with it, which you have, you can help so many other people with
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what happened with the George Foreman grill, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was really the beginning of the infomercial world for you and direct response TV. Is that correct?
No, actually, to be honest with you, it started with the Juice Man Juicer, because we use
Okay.
television infomercials to help grow that business. And then we're skipping a little step, before, even though Sultan bought our company and I was working with them on some projects, I took some time off, about a year after selling the Juice Man business. And then probably about halfway through that time, I was approached by a local Seattle company called Optiva, and they had a new invention. It was a sonic toothbrush called Sonic Care. And they were having trouble because it was a very expensive product. It was selling for $150. They couldn't get space on retail shelves. And at the time, this was pre-internet, so there was no other way to get your product out there if you had that kind of product except through brick and mortar retail. But people didn't understand what this product could do for them. So again, looked at it from a health perspective, and with the Sonic Care toothbrush, we were trying to think, well, what's the competitive advantage of this product? It's sonic technology. And you think about that, well, that's great, but people don't understand what it can do from a health perspective. And it turns out that if you could educate people about gum disease and the causes of gum disease, and the fact that bacteria grow in the nooks and crannies of your teeth that regular brushing can't reach, here's a new product that can reach into those nooks and crannies, kill the bacteria that cause gum disease. And so then it was just a matter of really building a communication channel or channels to get that message out to people. And then the sales just took off for Sonicare.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then was the George Foreman Grill after that?
Yeah, right after we launched the Sonic Care campaign, shortly after is when we did the George Foreman Grill. Right after that, so this is all happening now. The time frame. Sold the business in '93, took some time off. Probably started doing Sonic Care in '94 to '95, and the George Foreman Grill came out in '96.
Would I be overreaching or saying something that's incorrect to say that you've produced one of the most successful infomercial of all times?
No, I think that I would have to say that based on sales and how many units, I think I read recently that it's a product that's still selling. It's morphed into, different versions of the product. But last time I had read a number that people estimated there were 120 million units of some type of George Foreman grill that have been sold.
Yeah.
So it's one, if not the most successful, it's one of the most successful.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about another one that you were involved in from the very beginning that took them and catapulted them to the success that they have today, GoPro.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, we're skipping way
Okay,
up
well
there.
then, okay, fill in the gaps
No,
before
but
we get
I'll
to
fill it.
GoPro.
I think it's important to say one more was the OxyClean, because here's a cleaning product what you wouldn't normally associate being a health product. If you think a lot of cleaning products, there's bad fumes and things like that. But really, OxyClean was marketed with a type of health message. There was the famous pitchman Billy Mays had a saying. He goes, "Powered by the water you drink and the air you breathe," and it was a very clean way, not non-chemical way to clean your home, and yet it was still a powerful cleaning product. So even with a cleaning product, we were able to work in kind of a health message. And these aren't contrived messages. These are honest, authentic health messages that are worked into the product. So the OxyClean was there, but then fast forward probably 10 years from there, and that's when there are lots of products in between, lots of different ones, and then we come to the GoPro, which was a really fun project. One of the things I learned very early, and it's kind of how I met the Juice Man and lots of different products that I ended up working with, was going to different trade shows and looking for new products, going into bookstores and reading like the how-to books. And if something caught my interest, it was, potentially could be a project. So I was at the outdoor retailing trade show in Salt Lake City, and the founder of the company, Nick Woodman, had a what you would call a booth. It really wasn't a trade show booth. He just drove his Volkswagen bus onto the show floor, set up a beach scene, and he was selling these cameras to people, mainly surfers or people that wanted to take pictures of themselves surfing, because that was his background. And so I just talked to Nick a little bit while I was there. People don't have a lot of time to talk at the trade show, but thought it would be a good direct response TV product. And so 2 weeks later, Nick flew up to Seattle, and we spent the afternoon together really planning out. And I have to give him a lot of credit, because he was really crystal clear on growing his business from where it was, which was doing maybe $1 million in sales a year, to $1 billion company. And he was able to accomplish that in 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. With some really stellar TV commercials that
my agency at the time did all of the television marketing for GoPro. And, I always tell people when they talk about direct response, when you saw a GoPro commercial, there was always the difference between a brand commercial, which is more for awareness, and direct response is that there's a CTA or some type of offer. And one of the things that really propelled GoPro was the fact that we put an offer at the end of each commercial that said, go to our website, someone will and register, and someone will win one of everything we sell every single day. So it was like a contest. But that little offer made three things happen. People would go to the website and they'd register for the contest, and we'd start to build a database of names that we could remarket to through email. The second thing that happened, people would get to the website. They had a reason to go there now. We were telling them to register for the contest, and they get to the website and they'd see more cool GoPro videos, and they'd share them with their friends, and it would cause a viral effect of people like, hey, look at this cool new camera. And then the third thing was just really traditional direct response. People would get to the website, they'd purchase the camera, it would generate revenue, and we'd take that revenue and put it back into advertising. So just a little twist of adding an offer at the end of each commercial really was one of the engines that made the product grow so rapidly.
Yeah, I love that GoPro story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it hit on all cylinders. It's just, and that Nick had this vision, I believe very strongly, that if we have a vision of what we see as possible, and we know it will be true, is true, that it will happen. And he did it with the assistance of all the direct response TV that you put together, your agency put together.
I love it because anytime, and a lot, and you see this a lot in the different products we've been talking about. It's kind of like a David and Goliath story. Here's a little guy who invented a camera in his garage so he could take pictures of himself while he was surfing, and he's up against Panasonic and Sony and Kodak, which is bankrupt and no longer in business, and was able to build this big camera business when he was facing all the giants in the industry that had better technology. But he was able to build it because of his marketing and positioning of the camera in a niche that they weren't in.
Yeah, and I think too that is the story of the entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur can be much more nimble and agile and move without having board meetings every hour on the hour, decisions that have to come from higher up. He just made the decisions. He made it happen. And it's a beautiful entrepreneurial story about how that all comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there is a common thread. You go to the Juice Man, and their competition were two big German companies, Braun and Krups, headed, famous for their German engineering, been in the appliance industry for, many, many years. And then here's this startup, the Juice Man, that came in and was able to dominate that market just with a different positioning and messaging type of thing. So
yeah, that's another really great example, because so often the corporate brand is about the brand and the engineering and the number of years they've been in business, when in fact you and I as consumers really don't care about that. What we care about is what's it going to do for us.
Absolutely.
And the Juice Man said, well, this is what it's going to do for you.
Yeah,
so
I have a saying, a famous, one of the things I like to say is features tell and benefits sell. And the benefits you're focused on, or should be focused on as a marketer, are the benefits to the consumer, the benefits to the end user. What is your product going to do for them? And I always have like a side-by-side comparison. And you have a feature, you have a powerful motor, but the benefit is it creates a healthy juice that you can drink, and that juice will help lower your cholesterol, give you more energy, help you live longer. And so you're selling the benefits of the product and not the features. Mention the features, but sell the benefits.
Yes, absolutely. And from the time that I've gotten to know you, I know you aren't still there, but you were on the board of Bastyr College, which is a naturopathic
college in Seattle.
Yeah,
the world's largest, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was really kind of an offshoot of what we were doing with the Juice Man, and we could spend the entire hour we have talking about that business in itself. But one of the things I did was start a and this is good for a business, is start a scientific advisory board. And because we were basically teaching people to be healthy by what they ate, which is, kind of accepted now. Back then it was kind of a little bit, not revolutionary, but it was a new concept.
It was new.
It was new. Yeah. So we would ask, naturopathic doctors, are very forward-thinking medical doctors that were embracing this kind of concept, you are what you eat. And we put together a really powerful scientific advisory board, and one of the persons that was on the board was Dr. Joe Pizzorno, who's the co-author of the Encyclopedia of Natural Medicine, and he was also one of the co-founders of Bastyr University. And so after we sold the juicer business, they asked me if I wanted to be on the board of advisors. So I did that for 3 years. And again, just great experience meeting people that were on the forefront of natural medicine.
Yeah. And that's continued for you. In the time that we've worked together over the last few years, you've worked with many, many companies that are putting out, whether it's natural skin cream or supplements, vitamins.
Well, it comes full circle. You mentioned George Foreman and maintaining that relationship. I was working as a consultant for a company called Real Time Pain Relief, and it was a pain relief product, a cream that you would rub on your skin. But why I was interested in it was the fact that if you looked at the ingredients in the product, it was all natural ingredients that had been proven. And I knew from my history through naturopathic medicine that these were all pain relief items that you could find in nature. And their cream had a big following, and they were looking for a spokesperson. And so I helped, maintaining the relationship I had with George, helped get George to be a spokesperson for that product.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I hope everybody is hearing that as we navigate our lives, both personally and professionally, the people that we meet along the way, if we maintain good contact with them and friendships with them, and no ulterior motives other than just wanting to be in touch with one another, you never know when things kind of circle back again and you can reconnect, which is what happened with you and George.
Yeah, we just finished a another direct response TV project for a new product. It's a laser. I mean, this will sound a little out there, but it's a laser helmet that helps grow hair. But we talk about maintaining relationships. I worked with a director who we had originally met in Florida in the late 80s. And we took separate paths, but he became really big in the infomercial world, working on the East Coast. And I was on the West Coast, and we never really, our paths didn't cross. But about a year ago, I reached out to him, and we rekindled the friendship we had. And he just recently directed this show that we just produced for the product. And that was after, first meeting like 30 years ago.
Isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of the things, I'm going to circle back to health and connections in
Sure.
just a minute, but one of the things is, because you've had worked so much as an agency and within agencies of your own, when we met and you were releasing the $1 Billion Brand book,
Mm-hmm.
I remember you were here for a VIP day, and we were standing in my kitchen and we were having cheese and wine, and Martha, your wife, was there with us. And you turned to me and you said, well, what's next? What are we going to do next? And from that, we began to work on your own personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes. it was, and I'm very similar doing these conversations. This is my major step out to be able to be more visible. But my comfort zone is connecting with people like you that I've worked with. Mm-hmm. So for you, it was stepping out of being within the agency, and what do you stand for? And what seemed obvious to me was video marketing, because mm-hmm. video marketing now is available to everybody. I mean, we all have our smartphones, and yep. Anybody can make a video at any point. And just like I'm doing here with just the video camera on my computer. So Video Persuasion is the book that you really condensed a lot of the things that we're talking about. But because of the heft of this book, I hope that anybody who's enjoying our conversation here will go check out Rick's website, rickcesari.com. We'll talk a little bit more about how you can get a wonderful free report, but to check out the book, Video Persuasion. And then about maybe a year ago, you were feeling like you were ready to write another book. You co-wrote a book with Jason on the Amazon jungle. We can talk
Right.
about that in just a minute with Amazon sellers. But you were really feeling like you were ready to write another book and you weren't sure what that book would be about. And for me, it's like, it's got to be around health and video marketing, because these things come full circle and they're always ever present for you, because health and video marketing is just, again, it's in your DNA. So I just want to give everybody a heads up that there's going to be a new book coming in 2022. And
Well, I want to mention also, you made a good point. For 25 years, all these projects we talked about, I did through the agency. And I had a little bit name recognition, but because my agency was called, I had several different names over the time: Cesari Response Television, Cesari Direct, Cesari Media, but really did nothing to build my personal brand. And so when I walked away from the agency business about 3 or 4 years ago, I was I had a good track record of things, but people really didn't know much about me personally. And that meeting you're referring to was really a big deal at your home, because it really gave birth to the idea of, like, and you had brought the know-how of how to build my personal brand and where it should be too. I was, like you mentioned, you've done so much stuff behind the scenes, or are helping other products with their PR and online PR. It was the same with me. But when you turn around and kind of shine the spotlight on yourself, you're a little bit lost on what you should be doing. And so your perspective was really helpful in getting me to build that personal website. And we could talk again where that's led to some of the speaking engagements. And when you get a speaking engagement, it's for me, it invariably leads to new business. And I just have a really funny story I'd like to relate, because
Sure.
I was speaking this summer. It was one of the first in-person things when COVID had slowed down a little bit. It was called Retail X in Chicago. And my client, I was doing a case study with a client who was marketing a mattress topper. But of course, the mattress, it's called Dormeo. The mattress topper had a health story to it, which I won't go into the whole thing here. But more important, we did this presentation and they had experienced very fast growth. They grew to like 40 million in 18 months. And after the talk, somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, we enjoyed your talk. I wanted to see if maybe you could help us do the same thing." And it turned out his family owns the third largest bakery in Canada, and they make gluten-free breads, low carbohydrate breads, and they're in all the Whole Foods across the US. And he wanted to see about layering in some television to do this. So it's basically now going to be a story about healthy breads that people can get that maybe they aren't aware of. So it fits in perfectly. But again, it's because of the work done on my personal brand by you that led to the speaking engagement that then leads to, the job opportunities in the area that I enjoy working.
Yeah, well, it's been an honor to work with you. I remember how proud you were when we launched your website with the personal brand, the looks, the colors that you're wearing, the book, Video Persuasion, and we will continue to get your message out into the world. I kind of skipped over the book that you did with Jason, but I think it is worth mentioning that you've done a lot of work with Amazon sellers, because I know that you've done some speaking engagements.
Yeah, same thing. I was kind of I knew Amazon was an important platform or distribution channel. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, they're in the news every day. But this was 4 years ago. They weren't quite as popular now, and especially with marketers. And it's actually its own little universe of sellers. I shouldn't say little universe. It's a huge universe now. But I was asked to speak on branding for Amazon sellers at something called the Prosper Show, which is the largest show for Amazon sellers. And the person who putting on the show realized that a lot of Amazon sellers lack a brand or lack differentiation, and they're just selling Me Too products, and then they end up competing on price, and they have a race to the bottom. So anyway, I gave a talk at the Prosper Show, and a guy named Jason Boyce, who was a successful Amazon seller, came up to me afterwards, and we ended up meeting at our favorite place to meet, at the Issaquah Coffee House. And it just, I realized that as I would teach Jason about building a brand, he would teach me about Amazon. And we ended up combining our expertise and creating a book called The Amazon Jungle, which is, selling really, really well. And it's a good book for anyone who wants to launch a product on Amazon.
Yes. And you have worked with individual Amazon brands on their video campaigns.
Yes.
So,
yes.
so again, I mean, how many times have we gone to Amazon and we've looked at a product, but we're not sure how it works, or we're trying to figure out, like, from the photos. And then there's another Amazon product and they've got a video.
Yeah.
And they watch the video and it takes you right through. And then, oh, by the way, you can buy it right here on Amazon, or whatever the closing call to action is. So video is everywhere. It's accessible for every person, but not everybody knows the process to be able to show the benefits, be able to interest people, keep them interested, provide a strong call to action. And those are some of the things that you bring up in video persuasion, that it's a process. It's the same process that you used way back when with the big infomercials to current day when you're working with people. Testimonials. Do you want to talk a little bit about testimonials?
I mean, testimonials, and something else that we are both big believers in, a really good origin story. And I've made a few, because Amazon sellers, they're kind of unique because they're all entrepreneurs, but Amazon does a lot of the heavy lifting for them. So they don't have to really lay 100% correct foundation like you would if you were building a normal business, like an e-commerce business. So a lot of times you're working backwards, where here's a product that's selling on Amazon, but now you have to go back and lay the foundation for that to grow their brand. And one of the things that they need is an origin story. And, because I like to do those in video, like we're doing, we'll interview somebody. And so that's one of the things we do for them. And then they can use that both on Amazon and on their supporting website. But then the second part of that, after the origin story, is really getting great authentic customer testimonial videos and having those available on their website as well. I don't know, I'm just always been a big, huge believer in the power of a testimonial to sell products. And the more you can implement them, whether you have a product business or a service business, they're going to really help your business succeed.
Absolutely.
And we do it just like this, just like interview style.
Yeah, I love this style. I can tell, even though I've just started doing it. And it came to me because other people were reaching out to me to interview me. And I really enjoyed the process. I can just be myself.
Well, you learn a lot more in this type of thing. And then also the way you're doing it is 100% correct. You do your research, you find out about people you're going to be talking to, but then basically you have to me, a free-flowing conversation, and it takes you places you don't necessarily, you're unexpected, and you find out things that are unexpected too. And I've always, just like you, I've always enjoyed interviewing people. It's the best part of the job.
Yeah. Well, that's it, because it's a feeling like you're behind the camera, as you are in a traditional sense. And here we're both in front of the camera, but we're tuned into each other. And it's like a little jam session with each other, and we're just having a conversation, which is just quite delightful.
Yeah. And I always tell people, circling back to testimonials, you can almost build a whole marketing plan if you can talk to, 8 to 10 really good testimonials, and you do this interview style, and you're asking the people, why do you buy the product? What do you like about it? What do you don't like about it? And you're getting everything that a person feels about a product. And when you do that 8 to 10 times, you start to see a lot of trends where people like the things they like, the things they don't like. and they're really answering the questions that you need to answer from a marketing perspective if you're going to be marketing the product. And so there's a lot of like a feedback loop, like you're learning from the actual customers, and it's better than a focus group because these are real customers that have actually purchased the product.
Yeah. And I'll bet you get some surprises along the way as
Yeah,
you ask the
absolutely.
questions, that you hear about things that you didn't know about.
Absolutely.
It helped somebody in a certain way, like, okay, that's not the way we think the product should work, but it's working in this way as well. So, and it's all communication, isn't
Mhm.
it?
Yes.
Staying in touch, being able to have conversations
Yep.
across the board. And I mentioned your website, rickcesari.com, and I'll drop that link in the description in YouTube with the this video. So Rick, when people go to your website, there's a great report that you've put together for them that if they give their email, then they will immediately get it. And what's it called?
Yeah, it's called The 5 Keys to Building a Great Brand, and it's really the foundational principles that anyone can use to get their brand started. And it's really great information. I summarized everything from all the successful products we talked about, and these are the things they all had in common. And it seems to work with just about any product. And then I also send kind of a second report to people, which is based on the video persuasion book. We were talking about testimonials. There's a 8-step email sequence that you can use to basically book testimonials for your product, or your show or your commercial, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. And for anybody who gets these luscious reports that Rick has put together for you, know that then he can let you know when the next book comes out in 2022. I don't think we have a name for it yet, do we?
Not
Yeah,
yet.
we've kind of played with some names, but
Yeah.
nothing that we could mention here
Well, the
right
fun part
now.
is the name and the designing the book cover.
Yes, yes. So is there anything we haven't talked about here, Rick, that you would like the people who are listening to this interview to know about you and the work that you're doing in the world as a messenger?
Well, we talked a lot about video for television and things, but really what we've been doing, and a little bit about Amazon, but really what we're finding and what I'm doing in my consulting with companies is, as we're producing this video, whether it's for TV first, we're creating kind of a content library. And then we're using the video to make Facebook ads and to make Amazon sponsored brand ads. And so there's a huge amount of cross marketing you can use, cross purposing of that video you can use. And one of the things I talk about in my book is all the statistics of video marketing and how it enhances sales and conversions. And so the more you can get into video, the better. And it's actually more affordable because you're not just using it for one thing. You can cross-purpose your video for many of the different platforms and get a lot more mileage out of the video that you do shoot.
Yep, absolutely. One video repurposed 20 different ways.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Rick, it's been a delight to have you here with me. I know we'll do future interviews as your work continues to unfold and we are in each other's spheres of influence and work together. And thank you so much for being here today.
Great. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.